God wants His beloved child to hear something very important right now. Before you take another breath, before you scroll past this moment and let it fade into the daily noise, remember that He brought you here, and He wants you to know it was no accident. It was not random nor a coincidence. He placed these words right in front of your eyes because He needed to reach you. He needed to reach you today. You might think you just stumbled across this video that your finger slipped, or the feed just happened to show you this. But God knows better. He arranged this moment and set it up because there is something inside you, something quiet and deep that has been calling out for a long time. Today, He wants to answer that call, so please do not leave. Do not close this or let the busyness of life pull you away before you hear what He has to say, because what He is sharing with you is not meant for everyone. It is meant for you alone. Every word of this message was made for the deep place inside you that nobody else can see. The place, that place that aches sometimes, the place that gets tired and is being quietly waiting for someone to notice. Stay with Him all the way to the end. Because by the time He is finished, you will understand why you were the one who needed to see this today and what it means for everything that comes next in your life. Dear child, before your mind starts rushing ahead, before you start thinking about the next thing on your to-do list, He wants you to slow down right here with Him. He wants you to understand something crucial. You did not find this message. He sent it to you. There is a difference, and that difference matters more than you know. You are not just passing time. You are not just browsing without a reason, even if it seemed that way from the outside. Something deeper was happening. Your heart has been searching and your spirit has been reaching for something it could not quite name. And He saw that. He sees everything about you, including what you hide from yourself. There are moments when He will not simply watch you drift. There are moments when He steps in, when He interrupts your routine, when He slows down your scroll because your soul is asking for what your mouth has not yet said out loud. This is that moment. He brought you here because He loves you too much to let you keep going the way you have been going, carrying what you carry, pretending everything is fine and telling yourself you can handle it all. You may have been saying to yourself, I am okay. Things will get better. I just need to push through. And yes, you are strong, but He also knows what your strength has been costing you. He knows the price of always pushing through. He knows what happens inside a person when they keep moving forward while their heart is quietly falling behind. He's been watching you not to judge you or find fault. He's been watching you because you are His, and He cares about every single thing that happens to you. He cares about your sleepless nights and cares about the thoughts that circle in your head when everything goes quiet. He cares about the moments when you feel completely alone, even when other people are right there with you. That is why He reached out today, not to demand anything from you, nor to put more pressure on your already tired shoulders. He reached out because He cares too deeply to leave you alone with all of that. He wanted to give you this moment, a moment just for you. A moment where He can speak directly to the part of you that has been quietly hurting, quietly hoping, quietly waiting for something real. So do not brush this off. Do not tell yourself this is just another video. Let yourself feel what you are already starting to feel. That pull in your chest to that quiet recognition, that small voice inside you saying, yes, this is for me. That feeling is real. That is you recognizing His voice. Even after all the yucky noise you have been surrounded by, He is not speaking to a crowd right now. He is speaking to you, just you. As if He is sitting right across from you, looking you in the eye, seeing everything you have been trying to hold together. He sees your exhaustion. He sees your questions. He sees the places where you still hurt from things that happened longer ago than you expected them to still hurt. He sees the moments you smile on the outside while something inside you feels anything but okay. And He wants you to know you have never been invisible to Him. Not once. Not even in the moments when you felt the most alone. Not even in the seasons when His silence felt unbearable. He was always there. He has always been there. And He is here, right now. Dear child, every video on this channel is created with love, faith, and dedication to sharing God's Word. If these messages inspire and encourage you, You can support this mission through PayPal links in the description and pinned comment. Thank you for being part of this journey, dear one. Sometimes you reach out to him with words, sometimes with prayers, but sometimes you reach out in other ways too. Sometimes you reach out with your exhaustion. Sometimes with your tears, sometimes with your silence. When you go quiet and wonder if he even notices anymore. He notices he has always noticed, every single time. He knows the exact places inside you where you have gone a little numb. He knows the feelings you have stopped letting yourself feel, because feeling them fully was just too much. He knows the questions you tuck away behind your responsibilities, the ones you push down because there is always something more urgent demanding your attention. He knows the private conversations you have with yourself late at night when you're too tired to pretend anymore. That is exactly why this message matters. Not to create drama, not to scare you into paying attention, but because there are times when he needs to step in and speak clearly before you drift further from what is true. And what is true is this: he has not forgotten you. He has not moved on from you. He is not disappointed in you. And you were never meant to carry all of this alone. He knows there are parts of you that have become very careful. Life has not always been gentle with you. People have let you down. Situations have disappointed you. Hope has felt risky because it has led to pain before. And because of all that, something in you learned to guard itself. Something in you decided that protecting your heart was safer than opening it fully again. He understands that. He does not blame you, but he is not like the things and the people that hurt you. When he reaches toward you, he is not going to leave you exposed and walk away. He is coming to meet you exactly where you are, and to remind you that you do not have to keep surviving, doing everything on their own. First, they must let this one truth settle deep inside. He reached out to them on purpose today, choosing this moment, choosing them. If they feel even the smallest stirring in their heart right now, they must not dismiss it. It is not imagination. That is them recognizing something real. If they find comfort in this message, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel so they never miss another message meant just for them. These words are here for them every single time they need them. Now, let us go deeper together. He asks his dear child to stay a little longer. They must not let their mind carry them away to the next thing. He wants them to see something, clearly something their heart already knows, but their thoughts keep skipping over. They have learned to move fast. They have learned to keep going, even when their inner world feels like it is held together by nothing but habit and determination. They know how to get up, show up, speak with kindness, do what must be done, and keep conversations on the surface so nobody has to deal with the real them. They have gotten incredibly good at functioning while quietly falling apart. He wants them to hear this plainly, not to shame them, but because they need someone to name their pain. They have been carrying an invisible weight, the kind that does not show on their face most days, the kind others never notice because they have learned to hold it steady. But he sees it. He has always seen it. They have gotten so good at continuing they sometimes forget. They were never meant to carry this alone. They forget that being strong does not mean never needing rest. They forget that keeping things moving is not the same as actually being well inside. The world sees an achiever, but he sees someone tired in a way that sleep cannot fix. That is why he wanted them to stop here. Not because something is terribly wrong with them. Not because he has a list of corrections. He wanted them to stop because their soul needed this pause more than they realized. They needed a moment that did not ask anything of them. A moment where they did not have to perform produce or explain themselves. They needed a sacred interruption, so he created one for them today. There is a story they have told themselves for a long time. They keep saying, "I will deal with this later. I will rest when this next busy season passes. I will pray more honestly when I have more energy. I will let myself feel this when there is more space for it." But later keeps getting pushed further and further away. Meanwhile, the weight they have been meaning to put down only gets heavier. He wants to say something to them. With all the love, he has more love than they can currently fathom. Later has become a habit that is keeping them from healing. They have been postponing their own restoration so long that it has started to feel normal. But it is not normal. It is not what he intended for their life. They have done enough surviving. They have carried enough in silence, keeping so much hidden behind a smile that cost them more than anyone knew. He is not going to watch them keep doing that without reaching out. They must hear him. He speaks now, not with pressure, but with care. Stop, right now in this very moment. Do not hold his message at arm's length. Do not listen like a spectator watching something happen to someone else. Let his words reach you. Let them land where they must land. He knows exactly what happens inside you when something starts to feel emotionally real. Your thoughts begin to race, and your mind searches for an exit. You slip into familiar distractions so that you do not have to sit with whatever is rising. He knows that pattern in you, because he knows you completely. But he is asking you not to run from this. Do not retreat into your usual ways of hiding from the moment. Stay here. Let yourself breathe. Let the unusual stillness he has created for you right now become something that you actually receive instead of just observing from a distance. You do not need to fully understand what is happening before allowing yourself to be present with it. So many times in your life you have waited for perfect clarity. Before you would take a single step wanting to know everything. Before you trusted anything. You wanted all the answers before you opened your hands. He understands why. But that way of living has cost you many moments that were meant to bring you closer to him and closer to yourself. You are not weak because you became careful. But he does not want careful to turn into closed. He does not want the walls that protected you to become walls that isolate you even from him. So he is inviting you now, simply and directly. Stop trying to figure this moment out before letting it touch you. Just let it touch you. Let it soften. Something inside you that has been hard for too long. There is something powerful. That happens when you stop demanding answers and simply allow yourself to be present. This is not about emotion for emotion's sake. This is about real and honest recognition. Your heart already knows that this quiet moment has weight. That is why you are still here. That is why these words feel less like something you are reading and more like something you hear from somewhere very close and deeply personal. Call it what you want, a nudge, a stirring, a strange feeling you cannot explain. But deep down you know what this really is. This is him. This is him reaching you in a language your soul can feel, even when your mind is still trying to catch up. And he wants to say this to you very clearly. He has been closer to you in many moments than you realized at the time. He has spoken to you through things you almost dismissed. He has met you in the in-between spaces of your day. He has been present in the ordinary moments, and placed his fingerprint on things that look simple from the outside but carry meaning you have not yet fully understood. That is why he needs you to stop calling so many things random. Not every pause is meaningless. Not every moment of unexpected stillness is just tiredness. Some moments carry his mark. And if you keep dismissing them, you keep missing him. So receive this with a softer heart. Do not overthink it into distance. Instead, do something simple but sacred right now. Stay. Keep listening. Open that guarded part of you. Invite him into the spaces you have been keeping busy so you would not have to face them. Even if you can only do it silently in the deepest place of your heart, tell him that you are here. He wants to hear what you have to say. He does not want not to miss this. That kind of openness is far more powerful than they realize. It is enough. It is the beginning. And there is something else he wants them to notice in this moment. He did not bring them here only to comfort them. Though comfort is very much part of what he wants to give them. He also brought them here because he wants them to clearly see what has been going on inside them, probably for longer than they have admitted to themselves. They have been living with more internal noise than they have names for. They have been functioning but not resting. They have been moving forward but not healing. They have been busy but not at peace. And somewhere along the way, they started confusing movement with health. They started believing that as long as they were doing, they must be okay. But there is a difference between pressing forward and actually being well. And he needs them to be honest about how many days they have confused the two. They kept going because they had to. They kept showing up because life did not pause and wait for them. They kept handling things because they needed to be handled. But in the middle of all of that, they slowly started to lose touch with their own inner life. They became familiar with the weight. They adapted to the pressure. They told themselves, this is just how it is. This is just being an adult. This is just life. And he wants to gently push back on that. Not everything they have accepted as normal is something he designed for them. Some of what they are calling normal is actually unhealed. Some of what they call maturity is actually pain that learned to keep quiet. Some of what they call strength is actually exhaustion wearing a respectable face. He says that with great tenderness, because he knows how hard they have tried. He knows they are not careless. He knows they did not ignore their heart because they did not care. They ignored it because there was always something else, demanding their attention first. They pushed their own needs aside because everything else felt more urgent. But if they keep living that way, their soul begins to quietly starve while their schedule stays full. And he will not let them drift further into that without reaching for them. If this message is stirring something in them right now, they should share it with someone they love. And they can subscribe to this channel so that these words keep finding them when they need them most. Someone else out there needs to hear this just as much as they do. This channel is committed to spreading hope, faith, and the message of Jesus Christ to people around the world. If they would like to help continue this work, they can visit the PayPal links below. Their kindness means more than words can express. As his dear child, now that they have been sitting with him in this space, he speaks to something more specific. Something they may have been carrying so long that they almost stopped noticing how heavy it has become. He has seen the weight they carry. He has seen it in the way they keep going when they feel drained. He has seen it in the way they respond to people while part of their mind is somewhere else entirely trying to manage thoughts and feelings they never quite got around to dealing with. He has seen how they keep their life running, even when their heart is running on empty. They still wake up each morning. They still respond to messages. They still handle what has to be handled. They still show up for their responsibilities, their obligations, their relationships. They still move through conversations and commitments, while inwardly there are places in them that feel stretched so thin they might tear. And other people look at them and assume they are doing fine. Some of them even admire how composed they are, how together they seem, how reliably they show up. But he knows the private cost of that composure. He knows how much energy it takes to appear steady on the outside when their inner world is full of noise. He knows the weight of things they have not said because they were not sure who would truly understand. He knows the weight of old disappointments. They told themselves they were over only to feel them rise again in quiet moments when their defenses are down. He knows the weight of responsibilities that kept adding themselves to their life while their capacity was already low. He knows the weight of trying to be strong in front of everyone while secretly wishing just one person would ask a question deep enough for them to answer. Honestly, he knows the weight of the thoughts they replay when the world finally goes quiet at night. He knows the weight of regret, the weight of uncertainty, the weight of old hurts that keep touching new situations, the weight of wondering whether they are carrying too much, but not being able to figure out what can be set down without something else falling apart. They may not have even realized how heavy it all became, because weight that stays long enough starts to feel like it belongs to them. It starts to feel like just who they are and how life is. But he is telling them plainly, with all the love he has for them, they have been carrying more than they were ever meant to carry alone. They should not argue with that. They should not minimize it. They must not immediately defend themselves by listing all the reasons they should be able to handle it. They must just let themselves hear what he is saying. Some of what has been pressing on them is very real. It has affected them more deeply than they have allowed themselves to admit. And he is not disappointed in them for that. He is not looking at their weariness and seeing failure. He is looking at them with complete compassion. He sees someone who kept trying. He sees someone who kept showing up. He sees someone who said they were fine so many times that they started to believe it. Not because it was true, but because admitting anything else felt too complicated, too vulnerable, or simply too inconvenient for the people around them. But he is not those people. They do not have to simplify their pain for him. They do not have to reduce what they are experiencing to make it easier to explain. He already knows the full story of what they have been carrying, and he is inviting them right now to stop pretending with him. He invites them to bring it into the light, into this conversation. He wants them to admit what is heavy. Let themselves say, even if only in the quietest corner of their heart, "This has been hard. This has been more than I let on. This has been weighing on me in ways I have not fully acknowledged." He also wants them to understand something very important. Hidden weight does not only come from huge dramatic events. Sometimes the deepest strain in a person's life comes from slow accumulation. It comes from 100 small moments that each felt manageable on their own, but together it is overwhelming. 1,000 tiny pressures of slow wearing down of peace that happens when they keep adapting to too much for too long. They have probably had seasons where there was no single big crisis to point to, no obvious disaster that explained how tired they felt, and because of that, they questioned themselves. They wondered why they felt so emotionally worn down when nothing dramatic seemed to have happened. They told themselves they had no right to feel this way. They compared their pain to someone else's and decided theirs was too small to count. But he saw clearly what was happening. He saw how stress layered itself over disappointment. He saw how unresolved conversations stayed alive in the back of their minds. He saw how certain memories kept returning at unexpected times. He saw how their hearts learned to brace themselves in situations that should have felt safe because earlier experiences had taught them to expect pain or misunderstanding or being let down. He saw how their whole nervous system started carrying echoes of old wounds into new moments. And he saw them laugh while still holding sadness. He saw how they kept saying yes when their inner world was quietly begging for space. He saw how they reached the end of certain days and could not even fully explain why they felt so empty. He urges them to stop measuring their pain only by how dramatic it looks from the outside. Some burdens are quiet, but they are still heavy. Some wounds are invisible, but they still shape everything about the way they move through their lives. Some kinds of exhaustion have no obvious, but they are completely real. They must not wait until they collapse before they admit that they need care. They must not wait until their spirit is completely dry before they let themselves say, "Something in me needs attention." This is part of why he is speaking to them this way right now. He wants to retrain the part of them that has gotten so skilled at minimizing what hurts. And he wants to loosen the grip of that inner habit that says, "Other people have it worse, so they have no right to feel this." That habit has not protected them the way they thought it would. All it has done is delay their honesty. And honesty is where healing begins. So he is giving them a gentle but clear instruction to stop dismissing their own inner reality, to stop brushing aside the signals their heart and body have been sending, to stop overriding their deeper needs every time they become inconvenient or uncomfortable, to begin to listen to what their own soul has been trying to tell them. If they feel tired in ways that rest has not fixed, they must pay attention to that. If certain thoughts keep circling back, they must pay attention. If certain places in their lives consistently stir up anxiety or grief or a strange flat numbness, they must pay attention. If they keep saying they are fine because it's easier than being honest, they should pay attention to that too. He does not ask them to become fragile. He is asking them to become truthful. There is real strength in that kind of truth. There is dignity in naming what has been weighing them down. There is courage in refusing to keep decorating their pain so it looks lighter than it actually is. And there is freedom, real freedom, in letting him meet them in the real place, instead of only showing the polished and put-together version of themselves that the rest of the world gets. What he wants right now is not a dramatic breakdown. He wants a real opening. He wants you to let him into the exact places where the pressure has been building. He wants you to invite him into the rooms inside you that you only visit when life gets quiet enough that you have no choice but to go there. He wants you to stop standing at the doorway of your own pain and pretending you have already dealt with it just because time has passed. Because time alone does not heal what keeps being hidden. Silence alone does not restore what keeps being carried in secret. Distraction does not heal. Busyness does not heal. Endurance is valuable, yes, but endurance without release can slowly harden your heart in ways that keep love from reaching the deepest places. And he does not want that for you. He wants softness where you became guarded, He wants clarity where your thoughts became tangled. He wants relief where your chest has been tight with too much unspoken for too long. He wants you to experience what it feels like to stop carrying everything with clenched hands. So, listen carefully and do not just admire these words from a distance. Respond to them. Ask yourself honestly, what am I carrying that I keep pretending is manageable? What am I still replaying? Where do I feel burdened in ways I keep minimizing? What am I afraid will happen if I finally admit how heavy this has become? Those are not small questions. They are doorway questions. They are the kind of questions that pull you out of the shallow water of your own life and invite you to go somewhere deeper and more honest. And once you recognize what has been weighing you down, do not stop there. Hand it to him. Name it out loud, even if only in your heart. Tell him the truth in simple language. Tell him where you feel disappointed. Tell him what has been exhausting you. Tell him what you have not forgiven. Tell him what you fear. Tell him what you are trying to control because you do not trust what will happen if you let go. Do not make it polished. Do not dress it up. Do not spiritualize it into vague language. When your heart is carrying something specific, be plain with him. Be direct, be real. That is where true connection happens with him. And if tears come while you do that, let them. They are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign that something real is finally being acknowledged. If relief comes, receive it with both hands. If resistance comes, just notice it. If you feel the urge to pull away, because this is getting too personal, stay a little longer. The very place you most want to avoid is often exactly where he is trying to do the deepest healing. He wants to say one more thing in this part before we move forward. You do not have to keep proving your strength by carrying what is slowly draining your peace. You do not have to keep being the one who always manages everything while inwardly falling behind. You do not have to keep offering the world a stable, looking version of yourself while your deeper self is quietly begging for relief. He is giving you permission, more than permission. He is extending an invitation with all the love and authority he has. Set something down, not someday, not after the next crisis passes. Begin now. Set down one fear. Set down one old regret. Set down one burden you have been carrying as if the whole world will collapse if you let it go. Set down one wound you keep returning to because some part of you believes holding on to it keeps you. It was never safe. He urges them to let go, open their hands, and speak. Even if their only words are that the weight is too heavy, that is enough. That is not weakness. It is trust, the start of a completely new life. He sees the heavy burden they carry, and he is not bringing it up to expose or shame them, but simply because he wants to set them free. He wants them lighter, clearer, and far more alive on the inside than they have felt in a very long time. And if they truly let him, they will feel a shift begin. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not with a dramatic change, but they will know. They will feel the first crack in the pressure. Taking a breath that feels deeper than before, realizing that they are no longer holding everything completely alone. And that, for his child, matters more than they can currently measure. This ministry exists to bring encouragement, prayer, and God's truth to every heart that needs it. Supporters can stand with them through the PayPal links in the description. May God bless them abundantly for their love and support. Before they go any further, God wants to make sure they understand something very important about the spirit of this conversation. Because if they misinterpret what he is doing, they might hear everything he says through a wrong filter, missing what he actually came to give them. This is not about fear. He's not trying to corner them, nor is he trying to pressure them. He does not speak to them with disappointment or frustration, nor is he holding anything over them, waiting for them to fail. Every single word he has spoken comes from one place, and one place only, and that is love. He reaches out because of things happening inside their hearts and spirits that have gone unnoticed. Not by him, he sees everything, but unnoticed by those around them and sometimes even by themselves. They have become highly skilled at adapting, carrying the weight and normalizing the quiet struggle until they hardly realize it is even there. What he invites them into is not shame or judgment, but recognition. He wants them to recognize where they actually are, not where they try to appear to be. He wants them to realize what they have tolerated and should never have accepted. He wants them to see the difference between surviving and truly living in the deep peace He always intended for their lives. They have called things by wrong names for too long. They have called deep exhaustion stress and emotional distance busyness. They have called spiritual dryness just a passing phase. They are going through an unresolved pain, something they should be over by now. He wants them to stop doing that, not because He is impatient with them, but because those wrong names keep them stuck in places they were never meant to stay. He knows how their minds work when things start to feel heavy. They might assume that if a moment feels spiritually heavy, it means something bad is coming. They might start bracing themselves for disappointment, correction, or judgment. They can feel the old familiar tension rise and their defenses go up, but God speaks clearly. Right now, the weight they feel in this moment is not condemnation. It is significance. It is the kind of holy heaviness that happens when their spirit recognizes that it's being personally addressed by something real. That is why He wants them to stay present and stop preparing themselves for a blow that is not coming. He is not there to strike them with shame. He is calling them into awareness, drawing their attention back to what matters, to what is real, to what has been quietly happening inside them. They have been moving too fast, carrying too much, and protecting too many inner places with habits that once helped them survive, but now keep them from receiving what He wants to give them. They need to breathe. Just breathe. Stop reading while already preparing their defense. They must receive them instead. Receive them as an invitation to finally see clearly what their heart has been communicating to them all along. Recognition is not punishment. Recognition is mercy. It is mercy when they finally realize that the tension they live with day after day is not actually normal. It is mercy when they admit that the sadness they keep pushing down is still very much alive in them. It is mercy when they see that what they call being fine has often been a shield they carry, not a truth they live in. It is mercy when they stop celebrating their resilience and start noticing what that resilience has been costing them. Let this land in them. Let it go past the surface. He is not trying to make them panic. He is trying to help them recognize the moment they are in. This is the kind of moment where their inner life can begin to change, but only if they stop filtering everything through fear. Fear says something bad is about to happen, and they need to protect themselves. Recognition says something true is being revealed, and they do not want to miss it. One tightens them, one opens them. He wants them open. He wants their heart calm and alert, not alarmed. They must stay close, listen slowly, and not rush to defend themselves, nor rush to dismiss what's beginning to feel uncomfortably personal. Let them themselves be seen. Let them notice what they have been avoiding. Let them themselves acknowledge what has been true all along. There is something else that belongs here, because they have lived through enough hard things that sometimes they confuse His closeness with coming criticism. They have had experiences where being seen led to being judged, where being vulnerable led to being hurt, where something became emotionally honest and what followed was not care, but blame or distance or someone walking away. Those experiences left their mark. They taught parts of their heart to flinch when truth comes too close. They trained them to keep their guard up whenever something starts to feel deeply personal. And so when He draws them into a moment like this one, they can instinctively want to protect themselves. They can feel that urge to pull back, to skim the surface, to agree with everything He says while keeping their real self safely behind a wall. He wants them to notice that impulse, and He wants them to gently resist it this time. They must not let old wounds teach them how to misread His voice. He is not bringing things to light so He can shame them. He is bringing things to light so He can heal them. He is not drawing close to them in order to punish what is broken. He is drawing close so they can stop living under the weight of what stays hidden. This is why recognition is highly vital. It is the moment when they stop calling numbness peace. Recognition is the moment when they stop calling avoidance wisdom. It is the moment they stop calling self-protection maturity, when some of it has actually become distance from the people they need and from God. Recognition is when they say this part of their life needs attention. This place inside still hurts. This pattern is not helping them. This fear has lived inside them too long. This burden has stayed past its time. That is not failure. That is clarity. And clarity is the most sacred gift God can give them, because they cannot surrender what they refuse to name. They cannot be healed in places where they keep insisting everything is under control when it is not. They cannot receive restoration in rooms where they have locked the door, claiming there is nothing inside that needs attention. So God is asking them now directly and personally to stop minimizing. They must stop softening their truth to make it easier to tolerate. They must stop protecting patterns that quietly cost them their peace. Stop pretending everything is fine when weary or assuming that because they can function, they are healthy. Function is not the same as freedom. Performance is not peace. And endurance is not the same as wholeness. They have leaned on endurance for so long that they have almost started to make it an identity, believing that if they can just keep going, they are okay. But God knows better. He knows how much of their strength has been real, and He knows how much was held together by sheer will and the fear of what happens if they stop. He knows where their smile was sincere and where it was protective. He knows where their silence has been genuine peace and where it has been suppression. God knows where their patience was true wisdom and where it was fear. Wearing the costume of maturity. He says this with tenderness because He is not trying to pull them apart, but to help them wake up gently and finally see what has been happening so they can stop negotiating with things that have stolen from them for years. So they must breathe right now and be brave. They should tell the truth, not to others, necessarily. If that is too hard, they can tell God instead. Tell Him what feels off. Tell Him what has felt empty for longer than they can explain. Tell Him what they have excused. Tell Him what they have worked around and what they normalized that still feels wrong. God can handle it. He can receive it all. He is not going anywhere, nor will He flinch, pull back, or call them too much. They are never too much for Him. They never have been. He invites them to talk about trust because He believes this is one of the most vital conversations they and God could have right now. It may also be one of the most uncomfortable because trust has not always felt safe for them. They know the pain of believing in something only to be let down. They know how it feels to open up, only to feel the sting of disappointment. They have had prayers that felt unanswered and seasons that felt unbearably long and moments where they looked at their life and honestly wondered if He was paying attention, if He cared, or if any of this was actually working. He wants to talk about those moments honestly because He is not interested in giving you easy answers that do not touch the real thing. He knows the specific places where your trust has been tested. He knows the exact seasons that made you question if hope was worth the risk. He knows the situations that left you feeling alone in ways that went far deeper than what you let anyone see. And here's what He wants us to understand. None of those moments mean what you thought they did. None of them were proof that He abandoned you. None of them were evidence that you were forgotten or that your life slipped through His fingers. They felt that way. He knows they did. And He does not dismiss what that feeling cost you, but feeling like something is true. And that thing actually being true are two very different things. He was present in every single one of those seasons. He was working in ways that were not visible to you from where you stood. There are things He was doing behind the scenes of your life that you do not yet have the full picture to understand. And there are things that when you finally see the whole story will make you understand that even the hardest seasons were held in His hands. He knows that is not always easy to believe when you are in the middle of waiting. And He knows that trust does not always feel natural when you are carrying disappointment. But He wants to ask you something very honestly. Have you let those hard seasons build walls between you and Him? Have you let the unanswered questions create distance that you are still carrying, even now? Have you slowly, maybe without even realizing it, decided to keep a little more emotional distance from Him because it felt safer than opening yourself up to being disappointed again? If the answer to any of that is yes, He wants you to know He is not angry about it. He understands it. He knows how disappointment teaches people to protect themselves. But He also knows that the walls that feel protective are often the same walls that keep you from receiving what you actually need most. And what you need most always is Him. Trust. Real trust is not the absence of questions. It is not pretending everything makes sense when it does not. It is not forcing yourself to feel peaceful about things that have hurt you. Real trust is choosing to stay connected to Him even when you do not have all the answers. It is choosing to believe in His goodness even when your circumstances are hard to understand. It's choosing to keep the door open even when part of you wants to close it out, of self-protection. He is not asking you to pretend. And He is not asking you to manufacture a feeling you do not have. He is asking you to take one honest step. He's asking you to say, even if you must say it quietly and with a shaking voice, I do not fully understand what has happened in my life. I have questions and cannot answer. I have hurt in places that have not fully healed. But I am choosing to stay open. I am choosing to believe that you are still good. I am choosing to let you in. That one honest step is enough to begin. You do not have to have it all figured out before you can move toward Him. You do not need perfect faith. You do not need to feel strong. You only need to be real. And a real, imperfect, messy, struggling trust is infinitely more valuable than a polished He is not looking for a surface-level, flawless presentation from anyone. Instead, He seeks a genuine heart, even when that heart is confused, tired, filled with doubts and questions, or even when it has been deeply hurt. He wants that specific heart. That is what He came for. Those who feel these words speaking to them today should share this channel with others in their lives who need to hear it. Often, the most loving act is pointing someone toward a source of peace. If this message brought comfort, viewers are highly encouraged to subscribe right now so that this kind of hope keeps finding them in their moments of need. For those whose hearts have found peace, whose faith has been strengthened, or who feel reminded of God's love supporting this ministry through the PayPal links below helps continue sharing hope and His word globally. God wants to speak to His children about a deep truth. This is a subject that runs incredibly deep in everyone's personal experience. It is the subject of real change, the kind happening inside, not just outside. Many have wanted this inner transformation for far longer than they admit. There are constant moments of wishing things could feel and be different. People often look at their own painful patterns and flaws, wishing they would vanish, praying constantly for things to shift, hoping for relief. They go through seasons of intense effort trying to become better, freer, and more peaceful. Yet, sometimes that desired change arrived too slowly or did not appear at all, leaving a heavy disappointment. He wants people to understand how real change actually happens, because common misconceptions about the entire process are often not entirely accurate, and those false expectations only set people up for unnecessary frustration. Real change is rarely dramatic. It seldom arrives like a sudden storm that magically rearranges everything overnight. It rarely feels like a lightning bolt experience that leaves someone completely different on the other. While sudden breakthroughs do happen and are truly beautiful for most people, in most seasons real change is much quieter, slower, and far more gradual. It is gentler. Indeed, real transformation often begins in a moment exactly like this. A quiet moment of absolute honesty, openness, and vulnerability where the soul stops defending itself and finally starts receiving grace. Where the walls come down just enough for absolute truth to break through. That tiny crack is not nothing, it is actually everything. Because through that small opening in a closed heart, God begins to move. Once He begins to move in a life, even in the most subtle, gradual ways, things start shifting in unexpected directions that no one could ever produce alone. Many carry the false belief that they must completely fix themselves before He can truly bless them, use them, or move within their lives. They might think they need to be further along, fully healed and highly spiritually mature before He can do anything truly meaningful through them. But that is not how divine grace works. He does not wait for wholeness before offering help. He meets them right in the middle of their unfinished places, working before they have answers, moving while they are still in process. Because if He only showed up for perfect people in perfect conditions, He would have nowhere to go. They are not a finished product waiting for His approval. They are a beloved child in the middle of becoming, and He is right there with them through every stage. They must stop waiting to be ready or postponing their conversation with Him until they feel more put together. They must stop telling themselves they need to resolve their doubts, deal with their pain, or clean up their lives before they can truly open up to Him. They must come as they are, in this exact condition with everything exactly as it is. That is not settling. That is actually the only way this journey begins. The moment they come honestly in, their real condition, without pretending and without performing. That is the moment. He can actually work with what he holds in his hands. That is the moment transformation becomes possible. And there is something he wants them to hold onto carefully because it may be the key that unlocks more than they realize. The changes that are coming in their lives are not primarily going to come through circumstances rearranging themselves around them. They are going to come through something shifting inside them first. The way they see, the way they receive, the way they believe, the way they respond to what has been hard, the way they hold hope, the way they trust. That interior shift is the real transformation. And everything else, all the outer circumstances, all the doors that open and close, all the things that come into their life and go out of it, all of those are responding to what happens on the inside. They have more power over their lives than they let themselves believe. Not in the sense that they can manufacture their own destiny by willpower alone, but in the sense that when their inner world changes, their outer world begins to follow. So, what does this mean for them? Practically right now, it means the most important work they can do today is not the task on their list. It is not the problem they are trying to solve. It is not the situation they are trying to manage. The most important work they can do today is this: open their hearts a little more. Trust him a little more. Release something they have been gripping. Receive something they have been resisting. That is real work. That is the kind of work that changes everything. He wants to speak directly to his beloved children about their future because they need to hear it from him directly and clearly. He knows there have been moments when they looked ahead and felt more uncertainty than hope. He knows there have been times when the future felt less like something to look forward to and more like something to brace for. He knows what it is like for them when hope feels risky because it has led to pain before. But he wants to speak something very real and personal to them right now. Their story is not over. The hardest chapter they have walked through was not the final chapter. The pain that tried to define them does not get to write their ending. The disappointment that made them cautious does not get to determine what comes next. He does. And what he has planned for them is better than what they have been able to imagine from where they are standing right now. He knows that can sound like something people say. He knows they have heard that kind of language before and wondered what it actually meant for your real life, for the specific things you are carrying in your actual situation. So he is not just saying this as a nice phrase. He declares it as a statement of what he has already set in motion. There are things he is working on in your life that are not visible to you yet. There are connections being made that you are not aware of. There are doors even now in the process of being prepared to open at the perfect moment. There are people being prepared to come into your life. There are situations being arranged in ways that will only make sense to you later. When you look back and see his hand in what he was doing all along, he knows it's hard to trust a future you cannot see. He knows it requires a kind of trust that feels uncomfortable when you have been disappointed before. But he is asking you to try. Not blindly, not by ignoring what is real, but by choosing to believe that his goodness toward you is not exhausted. By choosing to believe that his intentions for you are genuinely good. By choosing to hold space for the possibility of what comes next in your life could surprise you in the best possible way. Because it can, because it will. If you stay open, if you stay connected to him, if you let him continue what he has started in this conversation and carry it into every day that follows. Do not close the door on your own future, because the past was painful. Do not decide in advance what is and is not possible for your life based on what has happened so far. You have not seen the full picture yet. And the parts you have not seen yet are worth staying open for. They are worth hoping for. They are worth trusting him for. He wants to talk to you, his dear child, about something that might be one of the most personal things you and he have discussed yet. And that is the subject of how you see yourself. He already knows that the way you see yourself is not always kind. He knows that the voice inside your head, the one that comments on everything you do and everything you are, is not always gentle. Sometimes it is harsh. Sometimes it says things to you that you would never say to someone you love. Sometimes it reminds you of your failures more than your growth. Sometimes it tells you that you are not enough, not good enough, not far enough along, not strong enough, not worthy enough. He wants you to hear him very clearly on this. That voice is not his voice. He wants you to know that the harsh commentary, the relentless self-criticism, the inner voice that minimizes your worth and magnifies your mistakes, that is not him speaking to you. That has never been him. When he looks at you, he does not see your failures first. He does not see what is broken and make his decision about you based on that. He sees you as his beloved child. He sees someone he chose. He sees someone he came for. He sees someone whose value is not based on performance, not based on how well they have managed things, not based on whether they have everything together, but simply on who they are and whose they are. You are his. That has never changed. That does not change based on your mistakes. That does not depend on your consistency. That's not revoked when you fall short. You are his completely and permanently. And nothing you have done or failed to do changes that. Dear child, every video is created with prayer time and dedication to reach those who may be searching for encouragement and faith. By supporting this ministry through PayPal, people help keep this mission growing and touching more lives each day. May God bless them abundantly. His dear child. He needs them to begin to receive that, not just agree with it mentally as a fact they know, but do not really feel. He needs them to begin to let it land in the deep places, the places where they have been harsh with themselves, the places where they have been withholding their own compassion, the places where they have been their own harshest judge. They have been too hard on themselves for too long. They have expected too much of themselves too quickly. They have given themselves very little grace for the simple reality of being human, of growing slowly, of making mistakes as part of the learning process, of needing time to heal from things that genuinely hurt them. He wants to invite them to begin practicing something. Begin to speak to themselves the way he speaks about them. Begin to offer themselves the same patience they would offer someone they deeply love. Begin to allow their own growth to be enough even when it does not meet the pace they think it should. Begin to stop punishing themselves for being in process. They are not a failure. They are not too far behind. They are not too broken to be used, too wounded to be loved, or too imperfect to be chosen. They are exactly where they are. And he is here. And that is enough to begin. And now, as they move into the closing part of this message, together, his dear child, he wants them to know something that he hopes will stay with them long after this video ends. Everything that has been spoken to them today was real. It was not a performance. It was not words arranged to sound inspiring. It was a genuine reaching, a genuine meeting between their hearts and his. They came into this moment carrying something, and he does not want them to leave carrying exactly the same thing in exactly the same way. Something was meant to shift here. Something was meant to settle. Something was meant to be named, acknowledged, and released. And whether they felt that shift dramatically or quietly, whether it came with emotion or with a simple, steady sense of something true landing in them, it happened. They were there. He was there. And that matters. He wants to close by saying this to them simply and from the very center of his love for them. They are not alone. They have never been alone. Even in the moments that felt the most isolated, the most empty, the most silent, he was there. He was closer than they knew. He was holding things together that they did not even know were in danger of falling apart. He was working in ways that were invisible to them at the time. And he is still working, still moving, still holding them. They do not have to be further along than they are. They do not have to have it all figured out. They do not have to be strong all the time. They are allowed to be in process. They are allowed to still be healing. They are allowed to have unanswered questions and unfinished places and days that are harder than they wish they were. None of that makes them less loved. None of that puts them outside his reach. None of that changes what he has planned for them or how he feels about them. What he wants them to do is simple. Take one step today. Not a perfect step, not a dramatic step, just one honest, open, trusting step in his direction. Set something down that they have been carrying too long. Speak to him honestly about something that they have been holding inside. He asks you to open that guarded room and let him in. Choose to believe, even if just for today, that he is good and on your side, and that what comes next in your life has the potential to be better than anything you have been able to imagine. That is enough. That is where it begins. That is where everything changes. He loves you, his dear child, not because of what you have done, not because of how well you perform, not because of how put together you seem. He loves you because you belong to him, and he is not finished with your story. Not even close. Stay close to him. Keep coming back. Keep listening. Keep opening, and watch what he does with a heart that finally decides to stop surviving alone and start living in the love that has always been reaching for you. You were meant to see this today, and now you know why. His dear child, he wants to sit with you a little longer, because there is still more that needs to be said. And he knows you have not left yet. He knows because something in you is still here, still listening, still open just enough to keep receiving. And he is grateful for that. He does not take it for granted. Every moment you give him is something he treasures. So, let's go a little deeper. Let us talk about the things you have been afraid to say out loud, even to yourself. And he knows there are things that live in the back of your mind that you rarely bring forward into conscious thought. Not because they do not matter, but because they matter so much that looking at them directly feels overwhelming. They are the questions that do not have easy answers. They are the wounds that do not have clear explanations. They are the fears that feel too big to say out loud. Because saying them out loud would mean having to fully feel them. He wants to address a few of those things today. Not to pull you into despair, but to help you see that even those hidden things are not hidden from him, and that even those things can be faced when you are not facing them alone. The first thing he wants to address is the fear of being forgotten. He knows that fear. He knows how it rises in you during certain seasons. The seasons when life feels particularly quiet, when the people around you seem busy with their own lives. When you look at your situation and it seems like nothing is moving and no one is paying attention. In those seasons, a very old fear can surface. The fear that somehow, somewhere along the way, you became invisible, that you faded, that the prayers you sent up stopped landing somewhere meaningful, that your life became a small overlooked thing. He wants to speak to that fear very directly. You have never been forgotten. Not for 1 second, not in one season, not on one day. There is no moment in your life when your name was not on his heart. There is no situation you have walked through where he lost track of you. You are not invisible to him. You are not overlooked. You are not a small thing. You are his. And he holds the things that are his very, very carefully. When life felt quiet, he was still speaking. When circumstances felt still, he was still moving. When nothing seemed to be happening on the surface, he was working underneath in the invisible layers of your story that are going to make sense to you one day. The silence you sometimes experience from him is not abandonment. It is often the sound of something deep being built, and deep things take time, but they are worth the time, and you are worth the time. Indeed. The second thing he wants to address is the fear of being too much trouble. He knows you have felt this. He knows there have been moments when you stopped asking for things, stopped bringing things to him. Stop voicing your needs because something in you decided that you had been asking for too long, or asking for too much, or that your needs were taking up more space than they deserved. He knows there have been moments when you tried to shrink what you were carrying because it felt like too much to put before him again. Please hear him. You are never too much trouble. Your needs are never inconvenient to him. Your prayers do not pile up in a place where he starts to feel frustrated or fatigued by them. He is not keeping count of how many times you have brought the same thing to him. He is not growing impatient with your slowness to heal, or your slowness to change, or your slowness to find peace. He is your father, and a father does not tire of his child's voice. No matter how often that child comes and no matter what they are carrying when they arrive. Come back. to him as many times as you need to bring him. The same thing again if it's still weighing on you. Knock again. Ask again. Reach again. He will not tell you that you are too much. He will not meet you with exhaustion or dismissal. He will meet you the same way. He always meets you with love that is not diminished by repetition and grace that is not rationed. The third thing he wants to speak to is the fear that you have somehow messed up your own story beyond recovery. He knows this one lives in you, too. He knows that there are choices you have made, words you have said, things you have done or failed to do that. And you sometimes wonder about in private. You look at certain chapters of your life and you wonder what would have been different if you had made different decisions. You wonder if things that went wrong were your fault in ways that cannot be undone. You wonder if the mistakes of the past have permanently limited what is possible for your future. And he wants you to hear him very clearly on this. There is nothing in your past that is beyond his ability to redeem. There is no choice you have made that puts you outside the reach of what he can do with a willing heart. There is no door that stayed closed that he cannot open a different one for. There is no damage done that he cannot work into something meaningful. He is not a God who operates within the limits of human mistakes. He is a God who takes the very things that went wrong and weaves them into a story that's more beautiful precisely because of the journey it took to get there. Your mistakes are not the final word on your life. Your failures are not your identity. Your worst moments are not your defining moments. He is your defining moment. His love for you is your defining truth. And that love has never been conditional on your getting everything right. So stop carrying the weight of your past as if it is a sentence you are serving. You do not have to earn your way back into his good graces. You are never out of them. And whatever you fear has limited your future. Bring that fear to him and let him show you what he can still do. A single act of kindness can help God's message reach someone who needs hope today. If you feel blessed by this channel, you can stand with us through the PayPal. Links in the description and pinned comment. Thank you for helping us spread. God loves one soul at a time, inviting his children to talk about the people in their lives. He knows one of the heaviest burdens they carry has to do with relationships, the ones that caused hurt, the ones they have lost, and the ones that changed in ways they did not choose, the ones they are still struggling to figure out how to navigate, where they gave far more than they received, and where love became complicated, painful, or confusing. God sees their relational world, clearly observing the connections that have brought them joy and those that cost them deeply. He sees the people who have been a true source of life, and those who have, perhaps without fully realizing it, drained them in ways they are still recovering from. He sees the relationships where they tried their best, yet things still failed to work out as hoped. He sees the loneliness that exists even in lives full of people, because surface-level connection can never match being truly known. He wants them to know. He sees everything, and he offers a few thoughts on what he observes. First, the hurts they experienced in their relationships were completely real. The disappointment was real, as was the pain of being misunderstood, overlooked, let down, or abandoned. He does not minimize any of these wounds. He's not telling them to simply get over it or move on blindly. It mattered. They mattered. And when someone treated them as if they did not, it created a wound that deserves recognition. Yet, he also invites them into something deeper: forgiveness. He says this word carefully because he knows it can feel like a demand to pretend that past wrongs were acceptable, or to let someone back into their lives as if nothing happened, acting as if the pain vanished. That is not what he asks. Forgiveness is never about pretending. It is not claiming everything was fine. It is not opening oneself back up to someone who has not changed. Forgiveness is a decision made for their own freedom, choosing to release the grip that an offense holds over their inner life. It is deciding not to let another's failure to love them well continue renting space inside their hearts, where peace belongs. When people hold on to unforgiveness, they are the ones held captive by it. The offender goes on with life, often without fully understanding the weight of their actions, while the wounded carry the stone of that offense every day. God does not want this for them. He desires their freedom, and forgiveness is the path. He does not demand they do this alone. nor does he ask them to manufacture warm feelings toward those who hurt them. Instead, he invites them to bring the pain to him, sharing honestly how deep the wound goes, letting him help carry what is too heavy to simply push away. Gradually, as his love fills the empty spaces once carved out by hurt, they will find the grip loosens and the stone gets lighter. The anger, bitterness, or sadness, or grief begins to lift, not through force, but because they let him in. This is how relational healing works. Not by pushing feelings away or pretending everything is fine, but by bringing the raw truth to him, every layer and complicated emotion, letting his love do what only his love can do. Then, let's look at the other side. God also wants to speak about the people who are still in their lives, the ones who are still there, still trying, still wanting to be close to them, even if they do not always know how. He knows that some of those people have been receiving a more guarded version of them than they would choose if they knew there was another option. He knows some of the people who love them most have had to love them at a distance because they put that distance there. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-protection. He wants to gently encourage them to let some of those walls down. Not all at once, not in a way that feels unsafe, but a little. He asks them to choose one person and be a little more honest with them about how they are really doing. He invites them to choose one relationship and decide to invest in it with more openness. He urges them to let someone see something real in them today that they normally keep hidden. They were not made for isolation. They were made for connection. And even though connection has been painful at times, the answer is not to close themselves off permanently. The answer is to heal and to choose again with wisdom, with boundaries where needed, and with the openness that makes real love possible. Let's look together at how God speaks to his child about their purpose, because he believes this is something they have wondered about in their quiet moments. He believes there have been times when they looked at their life and genuinely could not see where it was going. Times when they felt like they were drifting without a clear direction. Times when they watched, other people seem to move through their lives with a sense of clarity and calling they could not find in their own. He wants them to know they have a purpose, a real one, a specific one, not some vague, general idea of contributing something to the world. A purpose that is particular to them, that fits the exact shape of who they are, that takes into account their experiences, their personality, the things they have been through, and even the wounds they carry. Their purpose is not in spite of who they are. It is because of who they are, including the parts they think disqualify them. Sometimes the very things that feel like their greatest weaknesses are actually the keys to their most powerful contribution. The places where they have struggled become the places where they most authentically connect with others who are struggling the same way. The seasons of pain they have walked through become the stories that give someone else the courage to believe they can walk through theirs. The parts of their life they would have rewritten if given the chance become the chapters that carry the most meaning for the people whose lives they will touch. They should not decide their past disqualifies them from a meaningful future, nor should they decide that their current uncertainty means they have missed their purpose somehow. They have not. Their purpose is still intact. It is still waiting, still moving toward them, even as they move toward it. The question is not whether they have a purpose. The question is whether they are willing to trust God with the process of uncovering it, because the process is not always linear. It does not always look the way they expected. It does not always match the timeline they hoped for. But if they stay connected to Him, if they keep saying yes to the small things He puts in front of them, if they keep showing up with what they have even when they do not feel like it is enough, His purpose unfolds step by step, season by season, in ways that are far more satisfying and meaningful than anything you could have arranged on your own. You are not too late. You haven't missed it. You are right on time for everything He has planned. Stay the course. Stay close. Keep moving forward. Trust that the life you are building with Him matters more than you currently know. As we draw near the end of this message together, He wants to give you a few simple, practical things to carry with you. Not instructions that feel impossible. Not a spiritual to-do list that adds more weight to what you already carry. Just a few gentle things He believes will make a real difference in your daily life if you take them seriously. First, begin each day by giving Him the very first moment. Not a long, formal prayer if that doesn't feel natural to you. Just a moment, just a breath turning your heart in His direction. A simple acknowledgement that He is here, and you are choosing to start this day with Him rather than without Him. That simple act done consistently will begin to change the texture of your days in ways that will gradually become undeniable. The second thing is this: when something is heavy, say so to Him out loud, if you can, or silently if that is where you are. But don't just go through the motions of prayer while keeping the real thing locked inside. Speak to Him like you are speaking to someone who is right there, because He is right there. Tell Him the actual thing. Use real words about real feelings. That kind of honest communication with Him is not disrespectful. It is deeply precious to Him. He would rather have your honest confusion than your polished performance any day. The third thing is this: notice the small gifts. He has always given them. The unexpected moment of beauty. The conversation that felt like it arrived at exactly the right time. The song that played when you needed it. The sense of peace that arrived unexpectedly in the middle of a hard day. The person who reached out at just the right moment. He is always speaking, always reaching, always leaving evidence of His presence in the ordinary moments of your life. Begin to notice, begin to collect those moments. They will strengthen your trust more than you expect. The fourth thing is this: be patient with your own process. Healing takes time. Change takes time. Growth takes time. And the fact that you are not where you want to be yet doesn't mean you are failing. It means you are in process, which is exactly where you are supposed to be. Give yourself the grace of becoming. Stop demanding that you be finished when you are still becoming. That isn't how any of this works. And the sooner you make peace with the fact that you are a work in progress, the more freely you will be able to enjoy the progress that is actually happening. And the fifth thing, the last one for today, is simply this: come back. Come back to Him tomorrow, the day after that. Don't let this moment be a one-time visit that fades back into the regular business of life without leaving any lasting impression. Let this be the beginning of a real, ongoing, daily conversation. Let this be the starting point of something that keeps growing. Let this be the day you decided to stop keeping Him at arm's length and started letting Him. He wants to be close, because closeness is what He desires, what He has always wanted to be. Not as some vague shadow in the background of your life, but as the central, steady, loving reality that everything else in your life orbits around. That is the life He designed for you, the life He is still reaching for on your behalf in this very moment. Come back tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. He will be here. He will always be here. And every time you seek Him, you will find. He has not moved, has not grown cold, and has not given up on you, nor run out of blessings to give you. You are His beloved child, and He is your God who chose you, who knows you, who sees you, who calls you by name. And He is not finished writing your story, not even close. Every video here is created with love, faith, and deep dedication to sharing God's Word. If these messages inspire and encourage you, will you please consider supporting this mission through the PayPal links in the description and pinned comment. Thank you for being part of this journey. Before He lets you go, today He wants to speak directly to your heart about one more thing. And this may be the most personal thing He has said yet. He wants to talk to you about the version of yourself that you used to be before life got complicated, before disappointment taught you to be careful, before the weight of responsibility began to crowd out the lighthearted joy you once carried so naturally. Do you remember who you were before you learned to be so guarded? Do you remember a time when hope felt less risky? Do you remember when you could receive joy without immediately bracing for it to be taken away? Do you remember a version of yourself that was a little more open, a little more trusting, a little more free? God remembers. He sees every single version of you. He saw you before you had any of the answers you carry now. He saw you before the wounds that changed the way you move through the world. He saw you in your most unguarded moments. And He wants to tell you something important about what He saw. What He saw was beautiful. Not perfect, not without need, but genuinely and deeply beautiful. full of capacity, full of potential, full of a deep love for life and people that those hard seasons gradually began to quiet. And he wants you to know that what he saw then is still in you now. It did not leave. It simply got buried under the layers of all that happened. But it is still there. It is still alive. It is still reachable. Part of what he is doing in your life right now, including in this very conversation, is not adding something new to you from the outside. It is uncovering what was always in you, removing the heavy layers of fear, hurt, and weariness that have settled over what was originally good and bright and true. He is not creating something foreign and installing it into your life. He is restoring what belongs to you, bringing back what was buried. He is calling back out of you what was always meant to be there. That is why healing sometimes feels less like gaining something new and more like remembering who you actually are. Because that is exactly what it is. You are not becoming a different person. You are returning to yourself. The self that he made the self. He intended the self that got covered over by the difficult business of living in a broken world. And he wants to say to you very directly, he is not afraid of what he will find when those layers are peeled back. He knows what is there, and it is worth uncovering. They are worth the work of this restoration. They are not a lost cause. They are not too far gone. They are not too damaged to be brought back to the fullness of what he made them to be. So they must let the layers shed. Let healing happen even when it is slow, even when uncomfortable, even when it asks them to face things they would rather leave undisturbed. It is worth it. They are worth it. And the version of them on the other side of this healing is someone they have caught glimpses of their whole life. Someone they recognized in their best moments. Someone they always knew was more truly them than the exhausted, guarded, surviving version they have been presenting to the world. That version of them is coming. He is bringing them forward. In every honest conversation they share, every layer that comes off, every burden released, every act of trust they extend, even when it is hard, brings them closer. They must hold on, not with clenched fists and teeth gritted, holding on the way a child holds the hand of someone they completely trust, loosely enough to be led, firmly enough not to let go. Holding onto him, letting him lead this process, set the pace, and determine what gets dealt with when. Their job is not to manage their healing, but to stay connected to the one doing the healing. They must keep showing up, honestly and imperfectly, day after day, letting him do what he does. Because what he does, when given the space and cooperation of a willing heart, is make things new. He makes people new, not different in a way that is unrecognizable to themselves, but renewed in a way that feels like finally coming home, like finally being fully themselves, like finally living from the inside out instead of the outside in. That is what is ahead for them. That is what this conversation was pointing toward from the very first word. Not just a moment of comfort, though he wanted that for them. Not just a moment of being seen, though that was part of it too, but the beginning of a real, lasting, ongoing transformation that touches every part of their life. The kind of transformation that changes the way they wake up in the morning. The kind that changes the way they face difficulty. The kind that changes the way they relate to the people around them. The kind that changes how they see themselves. The kind that changes what they believe is possible for their future. The kind that makes their life, their actual daily life, more deeply satisfying, more genuinely peaceful, and more truly purposeful than it has ever been. That is what he has for them. That is what has been waiting. That is what they were meant to step into. Not someday in some distant future, when they have figured everything out. Now, beginning now from this moment forward. And it starts with one simple choice. The choice to stop trying to do this alone. The choice to let him be what he has always been, their closest companion, their most faithful. Support their deepest source, their true and steady home. They must make that choice today, beginning again today. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just, honestly, just, truly, and watch what he builds from a heart that decided today was the day it stopped surviving and started living. He loves them from the place where all love originates. from the place that invented their name before. Since before your first breath, God has held you in every season, even the ones that felt like falling. He loves you completely, permanently, without condition and without limit, without end. You reached this moment for a reason, and now you know what that reason was. Now go carry it with you. Live it. Let it change everything and return soon. He will be right there. As his child, there is one final thought he wants to leave with you before you and he truly close this moment together. And it is, this: do not let what happened today become just a memory. Do not let the warmth you felt fade back into the ordinary routine of life without it, leaving something permanent behind. Because the whole point of this conversation was never just to make you feel better for a few minutes. The point was to plant something in you that grows, something that keeps on growing, something that becomes more alive with every passing day, every honest prayer, every act of trust, every moment of choosing to come back to him instead of retreating further into yourself. He wants you to view today as a planting. A seed has been planted. You might not see it yet. The ground looks the same on the surface, but something is happening underneath. Something that started in this moment is now quietly, steadily, beautifully beginning to take root. And roots always come before the fruit that eventually becomes visible. So do not measure what happened today by whether you feel dramatically different in the next hour or the next day. Measure it differently. Measure it by whether you feel even 1 degree more open than you did before. Measure it by whether the weight you came in carrying feels even slightly lighter. Measure it by whether something inside you, even something very small, has shifted in its direction. If any of that is true, then what happened here was real. And what is real will grow. Give it time. Give it your continued honesty. Give it the water of your daily returning to him. Give it the sunlight of choosing trust, even on the days when everything in you wants to close back down. Give it space to become what it is meant to become. And one day, not in some impossibly distant future, but one day that is closer than you think you will look back at this season of your life, and you will see it differently than you see it now. You will see the places where he was working. You will see the threads of grace that were running through what felt like tangled and meaningless moments. You will see how this conversation was one small but significant point on a much larger map of where he was taking you all along. And you will understand with the clarity that only perspective can bring that you were never lost. You were never forgotten. You were never without direction. You were always held in the most loving and purposeful hands that have ever held anything. That day is coming. He promises you that, and he keeps his promises. Until then, stay with him. Stay close. Stay honest. Stay open. Stay trusting even when it is hard. Keep coming back even when the pull toward distance is strong. Keep choosing him in the small moments, those ordinary moments, the moments that do not feel significant, but that are actually where the most important things are decided. Because in those ordinary moments, when you choose to turn toward him instead of away, when you choose trust instead of in fear, when they choose openness instead of self-protection, when they choose love instead of bitterness, they are building something. They are building a life that is deeply rooted and fruitful and resilient. A life that can bend in the storms without breaking. A life that carries real peace, not as a circumstance, but as a foundation. A life that is genuinely, beautifully, purposefully alive. That is the life he has always wanted for them. That is the life he designed them for. That is the life he is still working toward in them, with them, and through them. As his dear child, they are so much more loved than they have let themselves believe. So much more seen than they have let themselves feel. So much more held than they have ever fully recognized. And so much more capable of becoming who they were made to be than the doubting voice inside them has been willing to admit. Let today be the day that begins to change. Not because they earned it. Not because they finally got everything right, but simply because they stayed. Because they listened. Because they let something reach the part of them that needed to be reached. Because they chose, even imperfectly, to be here. That was enough. That is always enough. And he will meet them here. In every place they bring their honest heart with everything that he is and everything that he has. They are loved, his dear child now, and always completely and forever.